Hi, I'm Kristine Weber, and I love to help mature yoga teachers let their wisdom shine. Um, Today, I want to talk to you about a brand new ebook that my husband and I have created. I'm really excited to share with you. It's called How to Be Trauma. I don't know if you can see that. Sorry, it's backwards on Instagram. How to Be Trauma Attuned in the Yoga Space. So anyway, you can get the idea. Um, so the reason we wrote this book, and my husband is a psychotherapist, by the way, and I'm a yoga teacher and a yoga therapist and a trainer. And the reason we wrote this book is because what we saw is that there is a ton of information out there about trauma informed yoga, which is amazing. I mean, we're so grateful that that has happened. I remember teaching back in the early 2000s when things were not trauma informed at all, and watching the evolution of the trauma informed yoga movement that has occurred over the past about 12, it's getting close to maybe 14 years now, but really it's become into consciousness, which is incredible, and I'm so grateful. And Brett and I realized, we could take that understanding of trauma informed to just a little deeper space. And so we wrote this ebook, and it's called How to Be Trauma Attuned in the Yoga Space, with the idea of helping people to understand that, or helping yoga teachers to understand that many people will come to your classes with a trauma history, and that trauma history, they might not even know it. It could be trauma that's passed down generationally. It could be trauma that they've experienced. There's many different ways that people have trauma, and they may not even know it. And so the idea of being trauma attuned is to realize, yes, I have to be trauma sensitive. I have to be trauma informed. I should be using language that is, recognizes that many people have trauma. For basic, just basic examples is when you're teaching Baddha Konasana, don't ever say spread your legs, right? Say take your knees away from each other. Those kind of ideas are out there and incredible. But what trauma attuned means is that we tune into what's going on in the yoga space and realize that some people may be showing us their trauma, whether they know it or not. Some people may be exhibiting behaviors in the space. They may be doing postures in certain ways that helps us to go, there's something there. That doesn't mean that you go up to anybody and diagnose them as having trauma. Never, never. But it helps us to tune into the fact that trauma might be, it might be there. It might be in the space. So what we've done is talk to you about how to recognize that, and then given you some possible signs of trauma. Like, for example, did you know that when somebody has poor proprioception, that might be a sign of trauma? Meaning, like, they don't know where their body is in space. They might bump into things. You may say, take your arms up, and they're not quite sure what to do with their arms. That kind of thing that you see, that I've seen for years and years in the yoga space with folks. That might help us to tune in. Now, we give many, many other examples in the ebook. It's not a really long book, by the way. But you can read it in probably 10 or 15 minutes. But what we do hope is that it will give you some ideas about how to be more trauma attuned. I just want to read this last quote here, which says, the role of yoga teachers is not to excavate someone's trauma history, but it does include keeping our group safe. And in doing that, sometimes we may need to know, or we may need to at least be aware that there's trauma in the room. So again, this was written by myself and by Brett Sculthorpe, who is a licensed clinical social worker, licensed clinical addiction specialist, and a prevention specialist, as well as a yoga person. He's been practicing yoga for more than 30 years. And together we put our heads together and came up with this ebook. So I hope that you'll read it. The link is in the comments. And I'll add the link to the description on Instagram. Please download it. It's totally free. We will also send you some information about our upcoming, or our course that you can watch anytime about trauma. Of course, that's not necessary. We'll send you some information about that, but the book is yours. So I hope you check it out. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week.